Hey everyone, it's Nadine. I have been trying to get on Facebook Live so that I could do both of these at the same time, but Facebook hates me and I don't know what's going on. I'm on Chrome and I used to be able to just press a button and you could just be on and there'd be no issue. But, you know, technology is something else. Even my husband's trying to help me and I'm having issues there. So in the meantime, since I'm like 10 minutes late, I was like, let me just come on Instagram. So again, this is Nadeen White of the Sophisticated Life and Culinary Travels. I'm going to give people a few minutes since I'm late, so people may have come on and left. But thank you for those that are joining right now. Hey, oh, my brother-in-law is on. Hey, thanks for joining. I am here on a Sunday evening. I know people are probably busy, but I just felt compelled to come on to talk to people about what's been happening in terms of the natural disasters going on. Hey, Coco, how are you? And just go over some things that people should know. Morocco tours, I hope you are safe. I'm praying for everybody there. Just devastated. I couldn't really believe it. I was there in June in Morocco and I was in Maui. My husband and I were in Maui in April. So we were shocked to hear about the fires. And then we were in Morocco and Marrakesh in June. And then the earthquake hit there. So I just felt like I had no choice, but especially as a physician, to come on and talk to everybody about what you should do before, during, after a natural disaster when you're traveling. Because as we can see now, literally it can happen at any time, anywhere, to anyone. Yeah. So we're going to try one more time to get on Facebook before I dive deep. I have a whole bunch of notes to cover, but I also want to just answer any questions and also just hold space for anybody who feels affected, who has been affected, family or friends there, anyone who is there, because I know there's obviously tourists that are traveling in Morocco and Marrakesh right now. Anyone who has travel plans coming up, who may be nervous about traveling. I totally get it that there's people who, feel nervous that they may be traveling and this might be an issue. So, if you have questions that come up, feel free to put them in the comments and we will definitely tackle that subject. Actually, I am just going to put a note on my Facebook page to let people know that they can join me on Instagram since, it's not really, this is not working out here on my Facebook page. So, actually, I'm just going to put a note on my Facebook page because I won't be able to sign in there. But thank you. So, yes, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, where you've been recently with your travels. And I'm just going to put here that people can join me on Instagram for this broadcast. Okay. I don't understand when things became so tricky. It used to be so easy to go live on these things. My goodness. But hopefully people will get over here. All right. Okay. So then we're going to dive on in. Yes. Okay. So let's see. So the first thing that I want to go over really is that there are so many things that you can do, obviously, before. Oh, actually, the first thing I want to go through is, like I mentioned, what happened to us on our recent trips. Because in 2015, actually, on our honeymoon, we went to Turks and Caicos. And when we were going there was a hurricane. Joaquin, I'll never forget the name of it. Was heading to the Caribbean, but we were told that not to worry, we weren't going to be affected. So we left for a honeymoon to Turks and Caicos. While we were on our honeymoon, Joaquin made a turn. And good to hear, Morocco tours, that you guys are safe. Very good to hear. So Joaquin made a turn. They were even telling us at our resort that they never get hurricanes in Turks and Caicos. And if you pay attention to the Caribbean, you know, I'm Jamaican, and they get a lot of hurricanes in Jamaica, Puerto Rico, places like that. But Turks and Caicos was like, oh, don't worry about it. That never happens here. Well, yeah, it turned and it did happen there. So we were stuck in our rooms. We had to get escorted to the restaurants. Hi, Deborah. Thanks for coming. To get food. Even after the hurricane was over, we thought it was over. We went down to the beach just to try and have somewhat of a honeymoon. And lounge chair blew up because the winds were still so bad. Blew up, hit me in my face. My husband forgets that. Hi, Kara. Thanks for joining, Doc. So when we were finally cleared to go home, we get to the airport. We spend all day at the airport. And the flight was canceled. Not because the hurricane was still there, but because it was too windy for the planes to take off. So we had to go back to our hotel. And we're thinking, okay, they know that this was a hurricane and emergency. We've already been stuck here. I'm sure they'll put us up for, you know, for the night, because we were back there like at 1 a.m. and we had to get on like a 7 a.m. flight. No, we still had to pay for the room for that night, even though we're going to be in there for like 4 hours. They did give us some breakfast in the bag on the way out. So that was an extra expense. It was just miserable. So that we were actually stuck in Turks and Caicos, not in a good way, during a hurricane for our honeymoon. So for anybody who's actually, let me know, have you ever been like actually traveling or somewhere when a natural disaster struck? Because that has happened to us. So we were not expecting that. We were not expecting the extra expense of being there, and it was just miserable. So like I mentioned, for those that are just coming on, again, I'm Nadeen of The Sophisticated Life and Culinary Travels by The Sophisticated Life. And my husband and I went to Maui on vacation in April. We stayed in Kandapali Beach, spent a lot of time in Lahaina, which is where the fires occurred. That town has been burnt to the ground. Like literally, the restaurant where we ate our last night, Fleetwood's on Front Street, which is owned by one of the members of Fleetwood Mac. We ate there on our last night, sat outside on the second floor outside, live music, patio, views of the Pacific, completely burnt to the ground. And that's where we ate on our last night in Maui. We spent 10 days in Hawaii. That's where we ate on our last night. And I was shook. We took pictures on Front Street. We shopped on Front Street. The banyan tree is like, they have this old banyan tree from 1873. It's been charred. They're trying to save this tree. So I was completely shook when I heard about the fires there, because like, again, we were there in end of April, and this happened in June. And then we go to Morocco in June, and we spent, again, 10 days in Morocco. It was 17 of us. And I love Jennifer the cat. Jenna Furr the cat. That's hilarious. I love that. And went all over Morocco, including Marrakesh. We went into the Atlas Mountains, which is where the earthquake happened. This is even gives me chills, because on Friday, I met with two of the team members for the company that we did our Morocco trip with, because it's rare that I go to a country back to back. But I was in plans with them to do another trip to Morocco next year, because we loved it so much. And so I met with them Friday afternoon, everyone. Friday afternoon, I was on this call with two of the people from Experience Morocco. So we had this meeting and everything, get off the phone with them. Couple hours later, the earthquake happened. So when I heard about this earthquake, again, I couldn't believe it. I had spoken to them that day. So of course I'm emailing them. We have a WhatsApp group from the 17 of us that went to, hey, thanks for joining, Nadeen of The Sophisticated Life. So we're all messaging the drivers, the guides. I'm emailing the team just to see if they're okay, because epicenter was south of Morocco in the mountains, but I mean, south of Marrakesh, but the houses were affected in Marrakesh. You know, houses were crumbling. So we were just trying to get in touch with people that, of course, we kind of, you know, got to know over the 10 days that we traveled with the same drivers. We traveled with the same guide, the main guide, the whole 10 days we were there. So thank goodness we got word that they were okay. Our guide was actually helping clients that were literally there on vacation, just like we were. And so after both of these incidents, I thought, this is crazy. We were in both of these locations recently. We need to really think about, this could have happened to us while we were there, just like the hurricane did when we were in Turks and Caicos. And do people really think about the fact that this could happen to them? What do you need to do to prepare for this? You know, and honestly, who really thinks about this every time you travel, right? I mean, I don't really think about it every time it's barely enough for me to pack for a trip, right? I hate packing. So to really sit there and think about, what do I need to prepare? What do I need to do before I go on vacation in case a natural disaster happens? So, I mean, that's what we're going to kind of talk about tonight. And I think if you just have some of these things in place, most of the things that you need to do, if you just have in place, period, you don't have to think about it before every single trip, because there's just certain things you should just have and do before that will, you know, have you set up. So every time you travel, you don't have to worry. Then we're going to talk about some of the things that you should do during the trip in case a natural disaster happens, just some things, some safety tips, and then things that you should do after your trip in case you've been affected by a natural disaster. So I don't want to keep you guys all night, but I just wanted to give some frame of reference as to why I felt it was important to come on a Sunday night, you know, when the summer is kind of wrapping up, to kind of go through these things. Some of these things are actually listed in my free checklist that you get if you sign up for my newsletter. So make sure you sign up for my newsletter at thesophisticatedlife.com. That's listed on the links in my profile here on Instagram and Facebook. So if you sign up for that, you'll get like a checklist, a travel checklist. And a lot of this is covered. So make sure you do that. Thanks for joining. Again, this is Nadeen White of The Sophisticated Life and Culinary Travels by The Sophisticated Life. And so before we get into, I mean, the stats are just staggering, because Maui, there's still 1,000 people unaccounted for, which is just terrible. I can't even imagine those family members. About 115 people they know have been killed by the hurricane that hit there. Morocco, it's up to over 2,100 people that have been killed and over 2,400 people that have been injured. And just a reminder that, like, the earthquakes can lead to tsunamis, it can lead to fires. There's just so much that can happen from, you know, the earthquake and aftershock. So it's not over yet in terms of all the things that can happen. So before you even go on the trip, let's just talk about the fact that you should research your destination, right? If you don't know anything about the place you're going to, please just look it up, you know. So again, you know, hurricane season is now. There's another one like brewing or coming from the Atlantic. So, you know, if you're traveling during this time, taking a cruise, going to the Caribbean, just be aware of your risks, that it is hurricane season. So just please try and research your destination. If you're not sure, talk to a travel agent, talk to a travel advisor. I'm now a travel advisor. And so make sure you research your destination before the trip. And then in terms of the things that you should do, just basic things that you want to do before you travel. So how many people have a will? I'm just going to shoot out some things here and just ask yourself these questions as I shoot these things out. How many people, and you can put in the comments too, just say yes or no if you're willing to share. How many people have a will or a trust prepared for in case something happens to you? You know, hopefully it won't, but just in case. How many people make copies of their passports, like take a picture or make a print copy that they keep with them in their luggage carry-on in case they lose their passport? Okay, good. Yes, for a passport. Another thing I'll do is I'll email a copy of my passport to myself in case, like, say I lose my phone or my luggage doesn't come, or I lose my passport, you can email all those things to your loved ones. Excellent. Yes. Email the copy of your passport to your family member, your husband, friend, all of that. So having some kind of access to a copy of your passport is important, because if you get stuck abroad and you need that, you definitely need to have a copy when you go to the embassy and you need an emergency passport. Yep, keep a copy of your passport and keep one at home. Yep, perfect. So the other thing that some people, every time I bring this up, people aren't aware of STEP. Tell me if you've heard of STEP, which stands for Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. And I've slipped up because I have not been enrolling, in STEP every time I've traveled abroad, which has been a lot since COVID. But I used to do this all the time. And so, and I will send all these links in my newsletter. So again, if you're not signed up for my newsletter, sign up. So STEP, basically, you will put in your information as to what country you're traveling to, with the dates, right? Always register with STEP. Love it. And so what that does is it lets the embassy in the country that you're going to know that you're there, right? It lets the U.S. Embassy know that you're in that country. So in this case, like with Morocco, they would know that Nadeen White is in Morocco, okay? So they would be like trying to look for me, search for me, keep my family updated about me. So it's really important, I think, to enroll in that. They will also give you alerts and let you know what's happening. If there is a natural disaster in some other part of the country, if information on evacuations. So it is good to register for it, and I haven't been very good about that. But again, that's STEP, Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. The other website is travel.state.gov. And there's some controversy in travel groups about this website, because they have level 1 to 4 alerts about different countries. So it'll tell you whether it's COVID or whether there's, let's say, not violence, but crime happening in certain countries, and whether the U.S. Government is saying you should stay away from it. Could be political uproars or anything like that. So they'd have some countries at level 1, some countries level 4, 2, 3. And it basically, if you think of like a traffic light, like green, yellow, red, that's basically what it is. And the reason why some people don't like that website is because a lot of it seems to be based on like color of your skin, some like say European countries versus African countries. So a lot of times, for instance, I'm Jamaican, and if you look up Jamaica, it'll be level 3 or 4. So people will ignore that. But the reason why you should still look there is because for like travel insurance, there's some travel insurances that will not cover any incidents that happen to you if you travel to like a level 4 country. So let's say you go to a level 4 country and something happens to you, and then you put in a claim. They'll say, well, that country was under a red alert, level 4, but you still took the risk and traveled there. So we're not covering what happened to you. We're not covering your evacuation from that country because you went there and it was under a red alert. So that's the reason to kind of look at that website. And again, that's the travel.state.gov website. So those are 2 websites that you should check before your trip. And again, in terms of sharing your travel plan, sharing things with family members and friends, solo travel is very big, and I am all about that. But please share your itinerary. Please share your travel plans with someone that's reliable, someone that's going to keep it safe. Share emergency contacts. So I know before, when I was even going on cruises, I would send to my brother and my aunt the emergency contact number for like the cruise ship. So, even when we were going to Morocco, my husband and I shared like the emergency contact numbers with our family members here. So they would know who to contact if they don't hear from us or anything like that. So share that information, share your itinerary, share it with somebody so they know where you are, especially if you're doing a multi-destination trip. What I also do is I put those emergency contact numbers for like, if you're using a travel agency or a travel company, I put those in my phone, because a lot of times it'll just be on the itinerary somewhere in your email, it's going to be hard to find that when you need it. So I always put it in my WhatsApp or put that phone number in my phone. So if you need it, you can just text the people right away, call them right away if you're stuck somewhere, God forbid, and you need to just reach that emergency contact right away. But also, again, share that information. Even your travel insurance information. It's good to email that to someone so they have that on the ground, like in the US or wherever, if you need to get like the phone number for the travel insurance company, anything like that you think you may need in case of an emergency. It's good for somebody else to have that they can access that and just text you like the information. So that is the website and sharing information things. So tell me, do you guys do most of that? Yes, no, maybe so. And again, I think if you get into the habit of a lot of those things, then it'll be like just, even if you do this stuff like after you check in and you're in the lounge at the airport, you may just like say, okay, let me just, it's kind of like back when you had to call your credit card company or put in this information for the credit card companies. Most credit cards now don't flag fraud. Or when you had to like, you know, set up a plan with your cell phone if you were going abroad, you know, all those things that I remember I used to do when I was waiting at the airport for international flights. So if you get in the habit of just doing that when you're sitting at the airport waiting to board your flight, shooting out those emails to, you know, your family, your partner, husband, whoever, then I think it'll just become second nature to you. So what about when you're now packing and you're going on your trip? These are just a couple things, again, I'm going to shoot out and see what people do. So, do you bring 1 or 2 credit cards when you travel? So in the comments, just tell me, do you bring 1, 2, do you bring credit cards? You only bring a debit card? Let's see if anyone answers that. What about, do you have travel insurance? I hope everybody on this call has travel insurance. And it's not just for international travel. I think some people think that. Now, if you're in the U.S. and you have good health insurance, obviously you don't need travel insurance. And a lot of premium credit cards do have travel insurance included, so you can check that in terms of international travel. But when you're traveling abroad, it's really important to have travel insurance, and it's even more important to make sure it covers medical and has medical evacuation. So please make sure that you have those 2 things included with your travel insurance, okay? If you were in Morocco right now and you have broken bones, broken legs, you needed surgery, whatever, or anything similar, you want to be able to come back to the U.S., be with your family and friends, and get that done in America. So please make sure you have medical evacuation, and that's usually part of the medical coverage, but you want to look at that. So here it is. My husband says credit card, debit card, multiple copies of passport and driver's license. Yes, very good. Deborah's saying 1, I think she's talking about credit cards and debit cards. Okay, I am Jacob Fall Travel says bring 2 credit cards always, or debit and credit card. Yes, only in case one gets stolen or lost. That's really good. That is true. So I will tell you, let's say you only bring your American Express card. If you traveled enough, you know a lot of places don't even take American Express, right? So if you're bringing that, you always have to have 2. You definitely want your debit card because you want to be able to take money out of your bank, right? So you definitely want that. And so you need to have 2 because, yes, one may not work. You may lose one. Your Amex is not going to be accepted everywhere. You need your debit card for cash. And another reason is that, but even if you have travel insurance, a lot of people don't realize this, you still have to pay in advance, and then you put in a claim with the travel insurance company. So when you go into that clinic or hospital or whatever, you have to have a way to pay. Whether if you're rich and you just have cash and you can pay them, that's fine. But most people are going to charge it, right? And then you're going to put in a claim with your travel insurance company. You're still going to call your travel insurance company if you're able to reach them. I mean, when certain natural disasters, you may not even be able to reach your travel insurance or reach anyone back home. But you need, oh, you're welcome, Jackie. you need to be able to pay for your medical expenses, whichever and wherever you are, right? And then you're going to put in the claim to get your money back. So whatever credit card you bring with you, and they're not going to take your bank debit card. You make sure you have a credit card that you can use to pay for any kind of emergencies, and don't rely on the Amex for that, because most places will not take Amex. So that's one thing that most people do not realize. And the other thing, in terms of travel insurance, I want to mention is most travel insurances, especially since the pandemic, a lot of them will not cover like COVID, or they won't cover, like I said, the level 4 locations. So definitely check on that. And if you're traveling a lot, I would say even 4 international trips a year, 3 to 4, then you want to just get an annual plan. And so you don't have to think about it before every trip. There are some companies that you can just go on and pay individually for trips. And I used to use World Nomads. So worldnomads.com is easy. You just go there and you could just pay for each trip, each international trip. And it's very reasonable. But if you're doing like definitely at least 4 international trips a year, just pay for an annual plan so you don't have to think about it every time you're going on a trip. If you're doing like adventure type trips, make sure that you do like the adventure plan. So because that is more high risk, right? So you want to get like the plan that meets how you're traveling. All right, was that helpful? Hopefully that was helpful. So we covered that. And then medications. And this happened to me recently. When you're traveling and you're on medications, bring extra. Bring extra. Because, like I mentioned when we were on our honeymoon, I mean, I had no way of knowing we'd be stuck there. So always bring extra of your chronic medications, because depending on where you are, you may not be, you really, really may not be able to get your medications abroad. So some countries, some things are over the counter that you need prescriptions for in the US, which is great. But then other things, you just won't be able to get them. They may not even have that in that country. So always bring extra medications with you. Extra underwear, but usually you can get underwear. But definitely bring your extra medications with you so that you don't have to worry about that when you're traveling abroad. Bring first aid kits, especially if you are, again, like an adventure traveler. But even if you're not, it's good to have certain things with you. So, when we were in Morocco, one of the physicians had antibiotics that she gave to someone that was starting to have like traveler's diarrhea. I always have things like Pepto-Bismol. My husband says he brings at least 1 week supply of extra medications. So yeah, that's good to have. I've started carrying at least 3 to 4 days. So yeah, if it makes you feel more comfortable, definitely bring up to a week. You just never know. Especially with COVID. I mean, with COVID, you could have tested positive for COVID and then you'd have to quarantine. What happens if you have to quarantine, and you don't have your medications? So I think that is important. But like in terms of your little first aid bag, I have like a bag that has, like the Pepto-Bismol, Imodium, the Band-Aids, just little things like that. And again, you can get, depending on where you're going, your physician might prescribe to you Cipro or Bactrim, something like that for traveler's diarrhea. You can go to a travel health clinic depending on where you're going, but if you're getting vaccines for travel, and they may prescribe some medication. So you can just have all of that in a bag. If they give you prescription medications, keep it in the bottle that it is in. Don't just pour all the medications or transfer them, because some countries they won't let you get in. You have to have the pills in the bottle in which they're prescribed. So keep everything in the bottle in which they're prescribed and just put them all in a little bag. And that's kind of like your first aid medication bag that you just kind of bring with you. I know I'm throwing a lot of things out there, but hopefully it's all helpful. And these are just a couple other basic things. How many people know basic CPR? This is for during the trip. So now you're on the trip, and unfortunately something happens, whether it's an earthquake, hurricane, tsunami, tornado. You're now on the trip and something like this happens. I saw a video of there were some group of travelers that they were at like a rooftop bar in Marrakesh, which is popular, when the earthquake struck. And it was like their first night in Marrakesh, and they were videotaping it. And what struck me was they were just kind of walking around. At first, they didn't know what was happening. Then I think someone in the restaurant told them. But they still just walked around and just kind of videotaped it. Like, that was more important to get it videotaped to put on social media than getting like down and cover and being safe. Like, that's what social media has done to us. But anybody here know basic CPR? You can just put yes or no in the comments. So that's one thing I'm going to advise. So please just try and learn basic CPR, take a class. You know, I think that's just one of the best life-saving measures that, you know, that you can utilize in an emergency. Oh, yay! I have a yes. I have 2 yeses. Yeah, so please just learn CPR. Things like just how to tie a tourniquet, putting pressure on a wound. And of course, when you're in those situations, it's really stressful and you may not think of them right then and there, but even after a minute or two, you know, things will come to you and you'll say like, okay, I know CPR. I know how to tie a tourniquet, put pressure on the wound. If somebody's complaining of neck pain or back pain, don't move them. You know, try and wait for emergency medical services to get there. Another thing that I was reminded today, you know, looking at these things is keep your phone charged. You know, always have, if you're going to be out on long bus rides all day. Like I said, we were in the Atlas Mountains. We, you know, didn't have Wi-Fi a lot or phone service. We, you know, thank goodness though, we're able to charge our phones. I think the charging ports were only on one side of the van or something. So we would take turns giving each other cords to charge our phone. Try and keep your phone charged, even if you don't have service or have an external charger. I always have an external charger. Keep the external charger charged. So, you know, try and keep your phone charged in case of emergency, and have an external charger with you. So those are just things that you can do. And for any of these things, try and, you know, get under cover. It's always most important to cover your neck and your head. So get down to your knees, cover your head and your neck. Those are the most important things that you can do. Stay away from glass, you know, windows, anything like that. Stay away from electrical wires, obviously. You know, I was reading too about, you know, water. So the thing when certain countries, like with flooding and water, you know, you can then get illnesses, which is then good to try and have like the Cipro things because you could get sick, you know, from a lot of water collecting after floods, things like that. So these are some of these things are like common sense, but still I was reading them today like, oh, that's right. Like earthquakes, obviously stay away from doorways, always cover your head and neck, hold on to things that are sturdy. Remember that there can be aftershocks. What if you're trapped, banging on pipes, banging on the wall, so people can hear you. So, you know, these are things, like I said, that I was even like, oh yeah, I mean, who would think that you would be somewhere trapped in an earthquake? But I mean, to think again that we were just in this area that this earthquake happened. So, and there was definitely roads that we were going up that I was like, oh my God, where are we? Where are we going? We're like the only van driving on these curving roads where you're looking over, like, we were just keeping our fingers crossed that our driver was a good driver. Let's put it that way, because I did not want to even just like topple down this mountain. So some of this is common sense, but you know, even in the best scenarios where there's no natural disaster, things can just happen. And these are the things that you want to keep in mind if a disaster happens. So, and then just after the trip, you know, remember to file your insurance claim, because again, you're likely going to have to pay for it while you're there, and then file when you come back. Follow up with your doctor if you are ill, or even if you're not ill, if you were injured while you were away. And so, yeah, those were the main things that I wanted to cover. And like I said, a lot of things, if you put into place ahead of time, then you don't have to think about it every single time that you're traveling. And it's just important to stay safe, be prepared, because you just never know what could happen. So as a physician, I just felt it was important again for me to come on and share this information with all of you, and I hope it was helpful. Does anyone have any questions? Please feel free to ask in the comments, and I will definitely post this video so people will be able to watch it again afterwards. And again, if you get my newsletter, I'm going to be sending all the links to some of these websites so that you can check them out and maybe just save them or save that newsletter. So then every time that you're traveling, it'll just be like a nice reminder, of things that you should do. And Troy, I wanted to kind of get through it. Do you still want to be in the video? Request, if anybody wants to be in the video to ask me the question, just request. I just wanted to kind of get through everything before it got too late on Sunday. So if you want to request to be in the video, just hit the camera and then I will accept you and you can be with me on screen. So, oh, good. Thanks. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Yay, Deborah. We'll be good in Italy. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that it was helpful. I am glad that it was helpful. If it helps one person, I'm good. Okay. So here, hopefully I did that right. Hey, Renee. Oh, what happened there? Accept. Okay. All right. This should be working. Okay, I don't know what's going on. I didn't think that both Facebook and Instagram would give me trouble because I am accepting his request to join and it's not connecting him. Troy, I don't know what it's saying on your end because I keep saying accept and then the screen goes away, but I don't see you. Okay. Technology is really interesting. It says that you're okay. He sent another request. Hey, Thomas. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for joining. I'm still saying accept, Troy, and you're not popping up. I don't know what's going on with social media tonight. Does anybody else want to pop on? Any questions? Has anyone been to Morocco or Hawaii this year? It's kind of strange to think like Maui would have like a disastrous fire when it's all islands, but apparently it was the electric companies who's being blamed for having all these loose wires with the dry environment that they had. And it's just devastating, really, really devastating. That area is just so beautiful. I actually been there before because I went to Maui over 10 years ago, and just really terrible. Um, yeah, I am still trying to press it, Troy, but it keeps saying that you're unable to join. Well, we tried. Um, but yes, thank you everybody for joining, and I hope. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and that it was helpful. Oh, he did join.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna. That was like the fifth time.
Yeah, we're in now.
You know. So this is my brother-in-law calling in from Chicago. I think you're in Chicago.
It's good. It's a little cool weather, but we're good.
Oh, good. So hopefully you found that information helpful.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hi, how are you,
We're watching your
Catherine?
tips. Good tips.
Oh, thank
Travel tips.
you. I'm glad that you like them. I tried to be as helpful as possible. So did you have any questions or what struck with you the most, I guess?
Really the American Express, because I always take our American Express card with us when we travel, plus a bank card. But to
Right.
know that you can go out the country and they don't accept American Express
Yeah.
was very interesting. So we have another card we usually travel with that I will take in that case. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I
Do
mean,
they take Discover? Discover?
their fees
Yeah.
are just high. I have never had a Discover card, so I would have to look that up to see. I would recommend definitely like a MasterCard or Visa if you have it, because I think Discover is more like American.
Okay.
But yeah, Amex, I think the fees are just so high. Because even here in the US, a lot of people will tell you, like my nail salon won't take my Amex, so
Yeah. Yeah.
the fees are too high. But like MasterCard, Visa, having that one of those is, and I get mad because I want the Amex points, but
Exactly right.
they're like, no, 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 they don't, they don't want it. So yeah, it's good to have, I think, a MasterCard or Visa with you to when you're going on these international trips,
Yeah.
just in case.
And the other thing is, I because of transplant meds, I take extra all the time with me
Yeah.
because you just don't know. I got one place once and had to have them sent,
Yep.
but that's a big
Yes.
hassle to have your medication sent. So we always take extra.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the time it happened to me, I was in the US, so I had to have the pharmacy, like the CVS where I was, call the other CVS to get it filled where I was because I was out of it at that location. So they refilled it where I was. So I was like, thank God I wasn't like national, but it was like a good reminder to me to bring extra. So yeah, like I said, it's hard to always remember every single thing, but this was just a really good reminder. Like, okay, let me
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember these things because I don't even know in terms of, people that are hurt there, that are going to be stuck there, that may not be able to fly home right away. You know, it just sucks. So, yeah, definitely should have it. Uh,
Good. Well, great tips. Love the
okay.
tips.
Do you see your brother's comment?
I did see him. Yeah, I saw him on. I saw one of my Morehouse brothers on there too. So these are great travel advice tips. So we're going to try to do the out of the country thing probably next year sometime soon. So we're following you very closely.
Yay! Well, I hope it's with me.
We hope it's with you as well.
Yay! Well, good.
Because I'm geographically challenged, Nadine.
Huh?
I'm geographically challenged, so I need some help.
Well, listen, there's definitely benefits to traveling with a physician. I have been, the last trip, there was a lot of physicians in Morocco, but I've been out other trips where I'm the only one. And everybody's coming to me for advice. Like, oh, so what do you think I may have? Like, when I was in Turkey, I think I treated about 4 people on the trip while I was in the trip.
Well,
So,
we'll put a preacher on the trip and then bring out the tip jar for you. So
so I can get paid.
that's right. That's right.
That's a good idea. And I'm going
That's right.
to the trips that I'm going to have for next year, I'm going to start announcing them by the end of this month.
Okay.
So, yeah. So everybody on the call is welcome. Stay tuned. Definitely.
Will do. All right.
Well, I'm glad that they were helpful. Thank you everybody for joining. And like I said, I'll post this. So if you missed the entire conversation, you'll be able to watch it and it'll be in my newsletter. So sign up for that.
Have a good night. Talk to you all
Good
soon.
night. Bye,
All right.
Catherine.
Bye.